Dr. Wesley, money is a game. I didn't come to realize it until much later. I wish I knew. Every game has winners and losers. The first rule in the money game is the rule of secrecy. Pension is palliative. Nobody designed pension to make you wealthy. Let me tell you a story about a man. His lovely wife kept telling him that they were not wealthy, and he found that insulting. As a corporate guy in Canada, he's been to the Queen's University, and in 50 years, he was the first black finance director in Canada's largest integrated logistics company. It's not academic knowledge that will make wealth for you. The body of knowledge that creates wealth is very different. If you have those things, if you're not able to form a company around it, it will enter what is called in the school of wealth preservation, entropy. Money is a game. All the elements of a game can be found in money. For example, every game has winners and losers. The same thing with the game of money. There are people who are losing with money. There are people who are winning big with money. Every game has rules of play. If you don't know the rule, the hope of winning is completely lost. We're Canadians. We love hockey. There's no way you can win hockey if you don't know the rules. If you play soccer, if you don't know the rules of soccer. If you get into the 18-yard box and you pick the ball because you don't want your opponent to score, then you incur a penalty as a result of your ignorance. So the same thing with the money game. There are rules, and if you don't know the rules, the hope of winning the game is completely lost. It's hopeless. A third feature why money is a game is that every game has a score. For example, if you play soccer, we can keep scores so you know who is winning. The same thing with the money game. You have scores. And every game also has a time span within which you play it. Money is the same thing. You play money in 4 quarters. Enter the game when you are 25. That's when you leave school. 25 to 35 is the first quarter. 35 to 45 is the second quarter, and so on. Then in every game, people cheat. And I don't have to elaborate that when it comes to money. People cheat. But people also win legitimately in every game because they know the rules. They played by the rules and they win big. The first rule in the money game is called the rule of secrecy. The rule of secrecy simply means that the rules that govern the game are kept secret. So that makes a lot of people losers. If you understand how money works, the knowledge of it is not taught in school. You know that very well. I respect our lecturers, I love academics, but how to be wealthy is not taught in school. It's kept away. In the money game, the rule of secrecy simply means that, think about it, no manufacturer will disclose their trade secret. McDonald's will not tell you their trade secret. Coca-Cola will never tell you their trade secret. As a matter of fact, that law of secrecy is so powerful that if you invent anything, you are allowed to keep it secret. It's called patent law. That's why when you work in a company, my background, I'm also a certified SAP application consultant. When you work in a company, you are given a profile. The profile restricts you. So if you're in finance, all you do is finance. Not even the entire finance, just a portion. You will not be able to access the information in sales, in marketing, and so on. So in the organization, there is kept secret. If you don't understand the secrets, you cannot win. The second law is the law of team. Most people don't understand that to win the money game is a team sport. You can earn high income alone. I went to work for many years alone, just working alone, but I wasn't wealthy because I didn't know the rules. You cannot create wealth alone. You can only create wealth through a team. So that's why you create wealth through other people's talent, other people's skills, other people's time. The reason why we go to work is that we are part of a team creating wealth for our employer. There's nothing wrong. I mean, I drove an official car. I had executive perks as a director for many years. But what I didn't realize was that I didn't have a team creating wealth for me. I relied entirely on my paycheck. Warren Buffett said that if you do not learn how to make money while you sleep, you would work for money until you die. That implies if you don't know how to create teams of people who work for you while you are sleeping, then you are not going to win the game. Today, we have business operations in different countries. While I'm in Canada sleeping, it's daytime in that place, and the team is working. The third rule is very crucial. It is called the law of measurement. Remember, I told you that every game keeps score. You cannot create wealth. You can't grow wealth. You can't manage wealth if you don't measure it. So, when I go to conferences or hold wealth boot camps, the first thing I compel them to do is obey that law. I ask them to measure their net worth. If you don't know your net worth, how will you know whether you're getting richer or poorer? When you go to the bank is not interested in your certificate. They are solely interested in your net worth. The richest country in the world is the United States. How do we know that? We know the GDP. If you check the GDP of the US in 2024, it was 28 trillion. We know the second largest economy is the Chinese economy. The difference is 10 trillion. We know because we can measure it. I had a client. He said, I went through two emotions. I was depressed and I was happy at the same time. I asked why. He said, I was depressed because I realized it's been 38 years since I left school and my net worth was worth less than $250,000. Then he said, but my eyes are open now. One of the secrets that people don't know about wealth creation is that the things that create wealth are not about your 9 to 5 job. The 9 to 5 job will never create wealth for you. Nobody has ever been wealthy on a payroll. Even CEOs earning big bonuses, it is not that earning that is wealth. For example, Mike Tyson was earning 300 million at age 20. He declared bankruptcy in 2003. So it's not the earning. The things that create wealth are four asset classes. Everyone who has been wealthy in all history became wealthy through one of these. First is business. I'm not talking about mom and pop. I'm talking about a well-run business. It will make you obey all the laws of wealth creation. Second is real estate. Real estate has made more people wealthy in all of history at all times. Now that's my own favorite. Third is commodities. Things that are natural that we cannot do without. Water, oil, or the fruit we eat. Canada's GDP is 80% export of commodities. Fourth is paper assets. Stocks, shares, bonds. Name anyone who has been wealthy. You can't find their wealth outside of these four. Warren Buffett is paper assets. Elon Musk is business. If you have creative skills, like if you're an artist or an athlete, if you're not able to form a company around it, it will enter entropy. It will dissipate. He came to Canada about 24 years ago. Before then, he was in the banking industry. When he came, there was a rude shock. Before then, he had a driver, private teachers for his children. He got here and he couldn't get a job. So he did what most immigrants would do. He headed back to school. He went to Queen's University for an executive MBA, did IT certifications, became a certified SAP consultant, became a chartered accountant in Canada and the US. He started climbing the corporate ladder. He was really bent on going back to the executive rank because that's always been his comfort zone. When he got to the top, he wanted the official car again. Lo and behold, he got it. But two things were his wake-up calls. First, he realized he was not financially well off. He entered this income bracket where his marginal tax was huge. He was spending a lot. Second, he didn't have freedom. In 24 years of coming to Canada, he's only been to Nigeria twice. To go to Nigeria, he needed 3 weeks. Nobody would allow him to leave for 3 weeks. It was so bad that he had to go to the CEO level to obtain permission 2 years ahead of the trip. And when it was time to go, His new boss would say, I'm aware of the approval, but there is internet in Lagos, so you're going to take your laptop with you. He realized that high paying jobs is a golden handcuff. He had no freedom. To make matters worse, his lovely wife kept telling him that they were not wealthy. He found that insulting. He's checked all the boxes. In 50 years, he was the first black finance director in Canada's largest integrated logistics company. He was mistaking that corporate profile for wealth. His wife came home one day and told him about the Nigerian guy who didn't do a lot of schooling but has a lot of property in Canada. She dragged a realtor home, and that was the turning point. To move from high income to wealth, you have to make four transitions. The first is transition of mindset. This is the most difficult one. You have to accept that you don't really know, so you need to learn. It's not academic knowledge. The neural path in our brain that deals with academics is quite different from the one that deals with wealth. He was a chronic financial illiterate despite his degrees. He had to learn to invest in himself and not just rely on his employer paying for courses. The second is transition of assets. When you work 9 to 5, you are the asset earning the money. When you retire, the asset cannot earn more money again. Pension is palliative. You need to transition by creating one of those four asset classes to generate income that replaces your own income. Now, that asset will outlive you, your job will not. The third is transition of quadrants. You need to move from E, that is the employee, or S, the self employed quadrant, to the B, business, and I, investor quadrant. The wealthy use leverage, other people's time, and money. The fourth is transition of structure. You need to transition from being an individual entity to having a corporate structure. When you are an employee, the equation is income minus tax equals expenses. When you have a structure, it flips. Income minus expenses equals tax. And that structure is a separate legal entity that outlives you. Multi generational wealth means creating wealth that will literally outlive you, so successive generations don't repeat the journey from scratch. Research says 85% of those who inherit wealth lose it. Now, why is that? That is because the wealth enters entropy, and entropy is the disintegration of order. It's like ice melting when removed from the freezer. The condition that created the wealth is gone. If you just will the money to your children without passing on the capital that created it, you have disempowered them. To preserve wealth, you must pass on five capitals. First is spiritual capital, not necessarily religious, but what do we believe about wealth? We believe wealth is a gift to be used for the greater good. We value honesty, integrity, humility. If you don't pass this on, three demons show up: greed, selfishness, and pride. Second is intellectual capital, not degrees, but the knowledge used to create the wealth. In our family, we have a virtual library of all the books I read. We have a training program for the family. We have a family business playbook, documenting how every company was created and every mistake made, accessible to the 10th generation. Third is social capital, the strategic relationships. Every important business meeting I have is recorded. My children can watch how I interacted with lawyers and accountants. We hold an annual family business retreat where we review the financials of all our companies and do case studies together. Fourth is human capital. Each member of the family is trained to know that they are more important than the wealth itself. We give them a sense of belonging. Fifth is financial capital. This is the actual money and assets. But if you just pass this without the other four, the wealth will enter entropy. 8 out of 10 beneficiaries of trusts says the trust is a burden, not a blessing. You need to be smarter than 7 people, including your lawyer, and the tax authority. For example, in Canada, there is the 21-year rule for trusts, and you need to know how to beat that legally. We don't call them the next generation, we call them the rising generation. Next implies waiting for your turn. Rising implies they would rise above us. They make a commitment to leave this world better than they met it.